What's shaken? I had to chill down and meditate for a second so that I could give you a super accurate reading. After last week's intense emotional processing, for those of you that were on that skateboard with me, maybe some of you were on a completely other skateboard flying high or doing other things, which is important too, that we all kind of hold each other. Sometimes there's like a soul collective or like a soul group processing some deep shit. And I remember being in this position where, people are like, we're doing an energy forecast and the energy is this way and that way. And I'm like, yeah, we all feel different things in different ways and we all have different ways of processing. And the world would never be just one energy at once. That's what spirit showed me, because I'm like, when you hear people say like, there's a major shift, there's a pet peeve thing that happens to me. There's a major shift, and I'm like, there's always a major shift. If you're ready for a shift, there's a shift. It's not like there's this one day where the universe is like, the shift is now for every single person on the planet. It's just not how it works. So I wanted to clarify that, so that those of you that were doing emotional processing and resonated with what I was talking about, I'm still kind of following that theme a little bit, but the energies, of course, have shifted because the work has been done. So when I'm reading for a group, all of you that end up watching this, I am asking to plug into your consciousness. So thanks for letting me snoop as you watch my readings. So moving forward with these cards, these are basically, it ended up being a 3-card spread because if you notice, last week I gave you a little hint. And so here we have the rebuild card, which I absolutely love. This woman really bringing the light back into her heart, and she's kind of not messing around. She's got her wings up. There's some broken aspects of lightning penetrating her grid, which the way that I feel into this as this mystical kind of sunshine and really beautiful, compassionate colors come in. There's so much here and I'm going to tune into this for you specifically. Oh, Chandra, Shola, somebody with an SH. Sheila, someone's in there that was actually feeling more mentally distressed than emotionally distressed last week. Maybe by some news that you received, something that you saw possibly on TV, that really shocked your heart. Now I'm going into a reading for that person, so I'm gonna have to kick that person out. If that's you, please call me or shoot me a personal message, okay? Because there's some stuff there coming in for you. This is it. You got strong energy, girlfriend. But I'm just gonna, with love, I'm just gonna push that out now because I need to go a little more broad, for other people that might be plugging in. With the rebuilding, this is kind of the evidence of after we've done some emotional processing and after we've had some realizations kind of come up, and then really when we step up to the plate and instead of running away from it, like which most of us do, like most people when we have stuff stored in our nervous system, we're unwilling to look at it, and that's why the perpetual issues always keep going. And I had this, it's funny as this is coming in too, as I was talking a lot about emotions and the inner child, Spirit just said there was a lot of parents that were like, oh my God, did I screw up my kid? Like, shoulda, coulda, woulda. And that's not the idea here. Like, it's one thing I've learned about being a mom is like, I've had so much guilt and questioning about every single thing that I do and choices I've made. And the good news is that you're conscious. Like, if you're parenting consciously, you're ahead of the game because you're kind of already aligned to things you want to change or do differently or better for your family. And so you can't live in the past with what you'd already done. It's over. You have to remember that as you rebuild relationships, if you're still continuing in the same pattern, now is when. So with internal family systems and rebuilding, And I've read lots of mamas, like a lot of women kind of actually in their 60s that are working through their own mother-daughter relationships. Or I even had a grandma not long ago, and her granddaughter had passed on to the other side, and she wanted reconciliation with her granddaughter. So, things like that happen. Like when we leave the world with unresolved, even the beings on the other side still want resolve, and so they show up. It's absolutely beautiful. And so how amazing that with channeling life and death on the other side, and with processing the emotional body, there's a sense of her personal grid just getting charged back up and her wings back up. And so this is always about, like, okay, you've processed the emotions and you did the work and you showed up and you dug deep and you allowed it to be in your body before you could, take it out of the mental monkey mind. And then now that's the imminent response, is that your psychic wisdom bursts wide open, actually. And that's so beautiful that this card came next. So it was Rebuild. Yeah, a mystical card that brings you back into your spiritual alignment. This is why it's so crucial to work mind, body, spirit, emotional, physical, mental, soul, spirit. Sometimes our wounds can be triggered by past life experiences. This is very, very common. And this is where most psychotherapists and psychologists are not going to be able to help you. Not to say that there aren't a lot of them out there that are open and interested to doing the work. If you happen to be one of those psychologists or psychotherapists that want to be trained in how to do the spiritual bodies and clear those bodies and see if it's like a soul level contract or a soul level issue, I'll be teaching that in the future. You can do a one-on-one with me, or you can do a group class. Wisdom is so amazing, because wisdom always comes after you've done the grit to the pearl, right? Think about the oyster, and it gets a little grain of sand stuck in there, and it gets so friggin' annoyed and irritated that it's not a comfortable process, and it spits a layer upon itself over and over and over and over again, and it keeps doing that, and it's like, what is this perpetual pattern? And then if you take a pearl and you look at all the beauty in it, it's like, wow, that took some time. But here's this amazing pearl. I actually heard a story about a guy who bit into a pearl the other day, or bit into an oyster the other day and found a pearl. I was like, well, how's that for coincidence? Hope it didn't break his teeth. Wisdom is the transformation of the lesson learned. So the 5 in here is being loyal to the wisdom. So always going back to the higher teaching. Here there's like an old, that's why I'm getting the past life stuff. There's this old house and home and homestead, and there's this mother and father, and there's kind of like this old bald dude looking back, like he's looking back, but all of this sun is penetrating through. So this is what I mean with like parents or elders that might be experiencing their own guilt or their own need for healing or their own recognition. And instead of like feeling guilty and going in, well, maybe you need to process the guilt. But 5 is about transforming what was done, that you can't undo the past, but you can use the wisdom that you gained in the past to be present now. So those of you that are parents, no matter what age your kids are at, you're not going to be a perfect person, and that's hopefully not expected. But there is a need for communication and using the wisdom of, like, if this didn't work before, what can work now? Because we can only heal now in the present. We can't rewire the past unless we process the trauma in our body. Does that make sense? I hope so. So with that said, the mystical lesson here is about owning the wisdom, the grit to pearl. What's the challenge and the annoyance and the frustration and the kind of uncomfortable stuff that if you stick with it and don't let the anxiety and the running and the nervous system shut you down from processing something, the wisdom is innate within you. So this is the beautiful part. Grit to pearl is when you allow that grit and that kind of like irritation to just be with it and to let it move through you. You're gonna make space for the aha moment, and that's gonna be pretty instant most of the time. So if you're doing this right, and not to say there's a right way to process trauma, and I want to talk about referral in this. This is also wise if you're one of my students and you're watching, to please, and we talked about this in class, and we talk about this in the more advanced classes, or if you've done a one-on-one with me, that you must be trauma informed to be able to identify when someone has a traumatic response or have had a traumatic experience, to not spiritually bypass. But if you're not trained to help them process the trauma, then that's not your job. you refer out. Does that make sense? We're doing the spiritual work, a lot of us, and you have to be able to differentiate in order to do help instead of harm. Okay, so just keep that in mind as a little side note. I definitely have and do work with, as many of you likely do, and you'll see this as you evolve into your practice. Work with the inner child. It's such a typical issue, and not an issue. It's such a typical part of self that we need to look at and communicate with and become harmonious with. And I am very gifted, have always been very gifted with that work, because I met my inner child one day and she showed me what I was supposed to do. That's the beauty of the psychic realm, but we don't want to create trauma on top of trauma. You're not here to necessarily help people process the trauma as much as bring the insights to use the modality that would help to work on all minds and all bodies. I hope that makes sense. So that's the wisdom there. That's the grit to pearl. So with this other card that I just pulled, because I thought, I feel kind of like the need for 3 cards here. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Accelerated motion. It's a little bit reflective, and I didn't take a photo of this one, so hopefully you can kind of see the accelerated motion here. And I really love this one because she's still on the ground. She's still in the 3D, and she's, in the mountains. So this might connect to those of you that are actually thinking about joining us for Harvest Moon. She's looking up at the stars and getting her insights. She's grounded and she's surrounded by the mountains. So for those of you that want to stay in Canada or visit Canada, October 21st to 23rd is a really lovely retreat that we have going at margotpsychic.ca. So here, when we have processed the emotional body, we get to rebuild, and we get to really stand in our wisdom and see where that wisdom is guiding us. And it also coincidentally opens space for the wide open ideas, this guidance, this universal wisdom, this quantum field to really pull and work with us beyond the astrology, beyond all the limitations, beyond the beliefs that limit us, to everything suddenly becomes possible very quickly. And I've seen the results of this myself. Holy crap, I don't know about you guys, but if you process the emotion, I've had some feedback from my clients from last week, and they're like, holy crap, Margot, I was following your messages, a couple booked appointments, and the breakthroughs are right there, right now. And I love that. I had a lot of people sign up for some events, classes, and whatnot. So for you, if this is resonating for you and you're kind of on this train, then how's the accelerated motion going? I'm also tuning in to someone watching this who's praying for this accelerated motion and saying this is not resonating, but I really wish it was. And I can feel that, girlfriend. So who's this girlfriend? Or maybe this is a woman and a man that are watching. I don't think I have a lot of guys except for my stalkers. Hey guys, how's it going? Glad you're still stalking me, but maybe you could just be real in the world and normal, but that's fine. I accept it. Whatever this is though, whatever this is for this woman or this man or both, it's a very heavy sunken process. It's it makes me almost want to cry. It's a sunken down deep into the lungs, penetrating down into the esophagus and into the digestive tract. So maybe some leaky gut, discomfort, or something around digestion. This is here for you too. It's just that you gotta look deeper. You're looking for all these superficial fixes externally. So it's almost like this whole part of your auric field that looks kind of like an eggshell around you it's become so protective that nothing within this 1 meter around you is being worked on. It's all external. So it's all whatever's out there. And I get that too, because when we are protective, it's the hurt and wounded parts of us that are burdened, that are doing their job to protect us. Essentially, we search externally for all of the things to fix us, and that just never works. We are meant to enjoy food and drink and sexual endeavors and maybe video games or whatever your addiction is, but when it's the need to bridge something that you're not willing to look at, that's kind of on you. So this heavy feeling that you're having, unless you get the help that you need, you're not going to ever heal it. That's just that's just the reality. So you know, you're just going to keep layering and layering and layering and layering and getting more stiff with each layer that you put, and pushing and resisting away the things that you truly want. So keep that in mind for whoever that resonates for. That's a very, what I call, like, an eternal message. It's you know, in this planet, that's wisdom that's never gets old. It's just after working with thousands of people that, you know, really are keen to heal, you start to really learn that we're all kind of the same, and in different ways. We have a different script, we have a different story, but essentially the way that we get to the core of our true selves, which plug us into our spiritual selves, is kind of the same. So, you know, when I work around somebody's energy body, when you get to the core of our essence, we are also divinely unique and different and perfect and beautiful, that it, like, I literally cry a lot in my work for the spiritual self that comes forth in a session. If you're looking for that, I am going to be phasing out my one-on-one sessions very soon here, so I will be doing bigger coaching packages. So there won't be a lot of one-on-ones available. So if that's something you've dreamt of or wanted to do with me, I would say jump on that train in the next month or so. Hard to predict that, but that's kind of my goal. So keep that in mind, and I hope that resonates for you and gives you some insight. Okay, have an awesome whatever day it is today. I think we're on Truth or Tuesday. Truth or Tuesday. That's where we're at. All right. Shine bright. Bye.